Welcome. I'm Bonnie Blomfield, host of It Takes a Village. The basic theme of the television series It Takes a Village is getting to know Santa Barbara. Who's here? What is here? What is needed? What are the resources? How can we share, learn, and dialogue to enrich ourselves and others, our village? There will be guests interviewed and opportunities for people to give voice to their views. We can create story as strategy toward enriched lives. There is fun to be had. Welcome. Hi, I'm Bonnie Blomfield. We're here for It Takes a Village. We're here with Laura. She works at Jensen Music. We want to ask her some questions. Part of what we're doing here is learning about Santa Barbara. I'm really thrilled and delighted. Laura is very well known in Santa Barbara. She's an absolute expert musician, teacher, and she's also a very delightful person. So I'm completely thrilled that she's on our program. And what I'd like to do is ask her a few questions. And first of all, I'd just like to say, how are you doing, Laura?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
I know that you work at Jensen's Music.
Yeah, here we are.
And in fact,
in my studio.
we are here in your teaching studio.
Yeah.
How long have you worked here?
It's going on 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard lots and lots about you. I've heard that you're fantastic with not only children, but really more expert musicians.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, mostly playing and teaching. Started teaching about the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I've heard is that you have some recitals with your students. And I've heard they're really beautiful with lots of parents, lots of students.
Yeah. It's great. I take mostly my younger students. Their ages, 4 to about 16. Mm-hmm. And I do have a couple adult students. But I usually take those guys, and a couple times a year I have a spring concert and a winter recital. Mm-hmm. And then during the year, sometimes I'll have a small group of, I'll select a small group of kids that have been really working hard and have them do a few pieces each. And take them over to places like the Garden Court or via Santa Barbara, some residential homes, Alamar, places that the elderly can see them, but they don't get out much and they can see the kids play.
That's fun. Wow. Yeah. Tell me, what instruments do you teach?
I teach violin, piano, and classical guitar.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of variety.
I had their childhood.
Yes, amazing.
Practice all the time.
Oh, neat. Well, tell me a little bit about your past history when you were a little younger and how things went for you.
So, I started music. I started violin when I was 2 years old. Now,
wow.
When you're 2 years old, you don't necessarily playing anything, but they can actually, just start holding an instrument. In my case, we made the little box violin, and we would just take a stick and sort of just do the motion of playing a violin.
Wow!
And that's what you do when you're younger. You just get used to holding it in the positions. When I was about 5, I took up piano, and then later on, when I was rebelling. Around 13, 14, I aimed for guitar because I thought, I'm going to play rock guitar.
Wow.
Which is funny because I ended up going back to classical music because it was more challenging.
Yeah. Wow.
But I've been playing, my parents played music, my sister's a violinist. It's been in my family.
So you rebelled around 13. Are there any decisions that you made around 14 that maybe got you in a little different direction?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was between 12 and 14, I wanted to quit piano. So I did for a little while, for about a year. And I, when I practiced, I would kick and scream and not want to practice at all. So I understand my students that don't want to. But I, eventually I started taking music books, and specifically, it's really funny, Tori Amos. don't know if you've heard of Tori Amos.
Wow.
Great singer.
Yeah.
And she sort of rebelled at some point when she was growing up, and she's a really great musician. She played in churches her whole life and kind of rebelled that way, and ended up being this phenomenal pianist and singer-songwriter. So I played a lot of her music. For some reason, she kind of spoke to me, and I decided to get into a lot of her music, and I realized that I would have these skills, and maybe it's a better idea if I go back and take lessons to get better at it.
Wow.
And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
I went and saw her in concert and was totally inspired and wanted to go back and study.
Wow.
And so I stayed with music.
Did any of your siblings take up any music?
Yeah, my older sister is a violinist professionally.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, she's in a quartet, a string quartet.
Oh. I think I heard perhaps when you were younger, you were from the East?
I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh,
Philadelphia, born and raised.
So how long have you been in California?
About 5 years. So just a little. When I moved here, I lived here for a couple months, and I got a studio here in May of 2010. And here we are, just about 5 years almost.
Well, tell me, I've heard such good things about your teaching. Do you have any openings right now for anybody?
I do, only because it's summertime. Come fall, it's very tight, but summertime, a lot of my students travel around, all over. We're in Santa Barbara, so they travel Brazil, France, everywhere. Back east, I had some students, and they were pretty serious, and they didn't go anywhere. They stayed. It's a different kind of town. It's a beach town, tourist town. So you get more of a seasonal kind of student, which I'm not used to. Now I'm getting used to that. A lot of kids that take it as sort of a hobby rather than building skills for many years. Yeah. A lot of them kind of pick it up for a semester, and then we're gonna do something else this summer and pick up something else. So that was different that I had to get used to here.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about Jensen's. I know it's been here a long, long time. It has a really good reputation. I think it's on Upper Delavina.
It is.
Across from Ralph's. Tell me about Chris Jensen and Jensen's music.
Chris Jensen is an awesome guy. So this has been around for, I'd say, 40 years. I think they just had their 40th anniversary. And, it's just a little mom and pop shop. Chris Jensen and Cecilia Jensen run this little shop, and it is just a gem of Santa Barbara. It really is. There's really interesting people coming and going here, getting their guitars fixed. Some real characters working here. One in particular, his name is Mike Shiflett. You've heard of him.
I have
He's
heard
a real
of
character.
him. Yes, indeed.
And one of the best teachers here, by far.
Nice.
One of the best. Aside from myself.
Oh, yes.
Just kidding. Anyway, so we have just a phenomenal staff here, and some young guys that work in the electric shop. So we have the acoustic side, and the electric shop has all the electric guitars. They sell a few mandolins and violins and some banjos, so folky music, fiddle music. Just a fantastic little shop.
Neat. I heard they repair things also.
Yeah, they do a lot of repairs. Some well-known musicians come in here and get their guitars fixed because they do a really good job. We've got a guy named Bill Flores who's fantastic, also a fantastic musician.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just really want to thank you for making
Thank you.
time for us.
No
And
problem.
so again, we're getting to know Santa Barbara, who's in Santa Barbara, and we really want to thank Laura for being with us. And again, we need to know our city, and it takes a village. Thank you. Hi, it's Sock It To Me time for It Takes a Village. I want to introduce to you Smarty. This is Smarty. I want to introduce to you Drummond. This is Drummond. Smarty. Drummond, you better get out of bed. Drummond. I'm tired. I want to sleep 2 more hours. But if you do, you will not do well in math, You will not get a good job. You will not have a good girlfriend. Oh, okay, I'll get up. Ta-da. Now, that is to teach us for every action, every decision, there are consequences. Hi, I'm Bonnie. Welcome again to this segment of It Takes a Village. This is the interview section. We want to know what's in Santa Barbara, who's in Santa Barbara, what's needed in Santa Barbara, what are the resources. We are very lucky today. We have Michael B. Shiflett with us. Michael was born in Santa Barbara, and he teaches guitar at Jensen Music. And so I want to introduce to you Michael Shiflett.
Hi, folks.
Hi, Michael. How are you today?
Great. Really glad to be here.
Good, good. Tell me about your experience with Santa Barbara.
Well, I was born and raised here. I was born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in late December of 1963. Do the math. But I've been here off and on most of my life. We moved away a lot, but always came back. I think they call that the Santa Boomerang effect.
Oh,
And we came back to stay, I think it was on August 17th of 1977. So I've been here ever since as a resident of this town. That's a long time to be here. That's absolutely the longest stretch. Whereas for the first 13 years of my life, we were, here and there. But we always came back.
You must have quite the perspective on Santa Barbara, having come and gone, etc. Tell me, what were some of your early memories of Santa Barbara?
My earliest memories of Santa Barbara often are places like UCSB, because my father was, both my parents, in fact, were students there, and my father was, I believe, a professor there for a time. So I remember the Santa Barbara Goleta area quite well. I remember going to various schools. I remember various homes we lived in. I, for a while, lived as a kid in the 5th grade I was going to Isla Vista Elementary School. We lived at Sesame Tree Apartments.
Wow.
We lived for about 7 years at 14 South Salinas Street, and that's when I was going to Santa Barbara Junior High for a time. And I also went to high school living in that house, and it just so happens that out of all my family members, I'm the one that stayed here. Everybody else moved away. I've got various family, maybe half my family up in Washington State and the other half down in the Los Angeles area. But I managed to stay here. I seem to be here for the duration.
Tell me, I'm just curious, what did your father teach at UCSB?
I think it was a subject called human development. It seemed to have something to do with, I think, with child psychology. Yeah,
Wow.
and also he was involved in computer technology for what that meant during the 60s and 70s. Very different topic than now.
Well, I've heard that you are an absolute fabulous guitarist and guitar teacher at Jensen's. Can you tell me, what were your early exposure to music or interest in music? How did you start coming down that path?
It's funny, as long as I can remember, my mother has memories of me at the age of 2 years old with my own little record player, and I would wind up being given my parents Beatles and Bob Dylan records. I think probably the Beatles were my first love musically, and it's funny, I kind of wound up there too. Along the way, I picked up lots of other things. But I was always very interested in it. That seems to be the one area that I demonstrated a certain level of ability and focus in. And I began playing the guitar, taking guitar lessons when I was in the 5th grade. They started teaching guitar lessons, I think, on Wednesday afternoons after school in the school library at Isla Vista Elementary. And I just really took to it. I had taken drum lessons earlier, but the guitar I stuck with, which is interesting because it is a very, very demanding, very difficult instrument. And to get to a certain level, it has to be a real passion, and you have to demonstrate a lot of focus and discipline with it. You have to absolutely put the time and work in it. And one thing I'm a guitar teacher here in town. I tell all my students that one of the things about learning any musical instrument is you really do need to do a lot of listening to music. You really do. You can't just be a casual listener to whatever is on the top 40 this week. You have to understand music history and where it all came from, and you have to develop a sense of who's who and what's what and why it's important.
You know, that's really fascinating. Sometimes I think that the debt that is owed to the Beatles in terms of how many children that they've influenced must be just quite amazing. The other thing I think I heard, I don't know if I heard this from Chris Jensen, who I feel knows the owner of Jensen Music. It's a story that when you were a child in a car driving with your family across the USA, there were 3 brothers, and on the journey there were 3 ukuleles given to the brothers in the back seat to play. Is that a true story?
That is a true story. That was it was just my father and my 2 brothers and myself at that point, but we were driving from Maryland to Kentucky because he was considering moving there and getting a job there, which didn't pan out. But I guess just to keep everybody occupied, because you know how it can be with a carload of kids on a long car trip, he purchased a ukulele and then bought 3 cheap plastic ones for the 3 of us. And we made up little tunes and sung about a bunch of things. I had already been playing guitar by then, but that is a good memory. Yeah. It seems like most of my memories about various times in my life revolve around musical themes.
Really? It seems amazing to have a parent in a car driving and to kind of arm the children with those kind of things. I've also heard you have some interesting siblings. Would you like to share with people about them?
Yeah, I have 2 younger brothers, Scott and Chris, both of whom are musicians. Scott is kind of a multi-instrumentalist. He started off on bass, and I think that's his go-to instrument pretty much, but he can do drums and keyboards and guitar and all kinds of things, and he writes, and he's in a band called Face to Face that he's been in that band for a while. And my brother Chris took up the guitar as well, and he, after being in a bunch of other lesser-known acts, wound up in Foo Fighters, which was quite amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That's a really famous band.
Incredible.
Have they gotten some awards, I think, the Foo Fighters?
Yeah, actually they've won quite a few Grammys and other things, I believe.
Fascinating. I think I heard something about your brother was in a place in Santa Barbara recently.
Yes, yeah, my brother Christopher has a side project as well as being in the Foo Fighters. He's got a side band that he does that's much more kind of more rough-hewn Bakersfield style outlaw country with some shades of rockabilly in it. And he was in town at a local venue, and lo and behold, Brad Paisley was there and played a couple tunes with them on stage, and I got to meet Brad, who, oddly enough, I've been teaching students some of Brad's stuff, because I don't come from a country music background, but I've been using one of Brad's CDs to teach country licks to people, and it's been very educational for me. I think another thing I've told a lot of my students is that no matter what style of music you play or aspire to, get exposed to different styles and different techniques, because it can only enrich and complete you as a player. A good rock player should know how to play blues and some jazz and some country and some acoustic forms, among other things.
Another thing that I heard is that there was a time there was some musicians at Jensen Music imitating people like Bob Dylan and things like that. And I heard there were some teens, that it was a very wholesome, fun kind of place where they were on stage doing music. Is that right?
Yeah, Jensen Music has been, I think a great source of stuff like that for the community, because there's such a dearth of real, I guess, good activities for teenage kids in particular to participate in, and they cut the funding from a lot of the schools for music programs, so a lot of kids don't learn about music from the source. They get it from video games or whatever the media is feeding them that week, and it's very different than when I was growing up. So what Jensen's has done is it's given kids a chance to learn about music, to get the experience of having an instrument in their hands, going through the process of playing with other people, rehearsing, getting that together, and performing it in front of an audience.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is a real blessing, much needed.
Well, I guess when we look at Santa Barbara, it takes a village. What are the resources? What are the needs? In a certain sense, the resource of giving music to children through the public schools has changed a little bit to the private domain of going through a private music company like Jensen's, but thank goodness I know that he has a really fabulous reputation. So I guess we're very, very lucky to have that going on. And I think it's really important to know, what is available in our city. Do you have any projects in the future that you're interested in, or other things that you think people would like to know about?
Well, I've always been interested in session work, and I've in recent years sort of sporadically been pursuing that. I need to get on that more, because I think I've reached a point in ability and confidence that I can handle that. To expand, not just teach, but actually go out there and do it, and maybe earn some money doing it. And,
that's interesting.
Some session money, which is a good sideline if you can get into it. It's hard work to get into. I've also recently started, as you know, getting involved with taking classes in TV production, because I think it's a good idea to have more than one skill.
Right.
Maybe have 2 or 3, something that you can plug into.
Right. Yeah, that's quite the endeavor.
It definitely
that's interesting. It's also fascinating that those resources are available in Santa Barbara, and that's not known to everyone either. And of course, that's TV Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages of a community like Santa Barbara, because stuff like the music stuff and the television stuff, there's opportunities here to get exposed to things that other cities just don't have.
Right.
Other communities don't have, either through lack of funds or just it's not available for whatever reason.
Right.
And Santa Barbara is an interesting place in the sense that there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot to do with film and music and art and television. So it's a good idea to kind of find out what's available in your town, and it can only enrich your own life and expand your own existence.
Incredible.
So it's definitely here.
Yeah. Well, our time is kind of diminishing here, but I really want to thank you for spending this extra time with us. And thank you so much. And it takes a village, and thank you for being with us. And if you have any comments or things you want to add, please get hold of us. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Got a call from my brother the other day, and he told me this little story. I found my old cowboy record machine. It was down at Mom and Dad's place in South Abilene. It had a little picture of Gene on its screen. I cranked it up and it started telling me, yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of Ryan and playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of living and being with Daddy and Mom. They have the old records of Hoppy and Gene. They've got that country feeling, you know what I mean. Every time I hear them, I have this little dream of 3 brothers playing on down by the stream. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of running and playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of living and being with Daddy and Mom. On turning, my eyes they don't see. It's real hard, my saying, there will never be a return to those old days on South Everly. I thank the Lord in heaven had ended my dream. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of running and playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of living and being with Daddy and Mom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of running and playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the and being with Daddy and Mom. Well, we laughed and joked for a little while. Said we'd get together soon. Then he told me something he never told me before. He told me that he loved me.